Hey y'all, meteorologist Sydney Goldberg here from the First Alert Desk, and the First Alert weather team's continuing to keep their eyes on this weekend for the winter storm that's going to impact many areas across the United States, really in the central and southeastern portion of the country. So we'll talk about what that means for us with the latest model runs, trends, guidance, what that means in terms for us for ice potential. And now we're adding the potential for some strong storms in the mix for this weekend. And on top of that, we're giving you the first alert for early next week for frigid cold. I mean, we're talking about consecutive mornings of hard freezes, and also on top of that, dangerous wind chills going into early next week. So let's get right into the timing, talk about the latest model run from one of our more trusted model guidances. This is the graph model. I have this paused at Saturday at 6 a.m. You'll notice off towards the west near Houston, starting to see some showers and storms popping up there. Up towards the north, the pink, that is ice. So as we advance this forward going into Saturday afternoon around lunchtime, notice the pink. The ice is really confined to central and northern Louisiana, extending to portions up in northern Mississippi. But this line of showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder embedded in there, heads our way. So we get some heavy rain potential, maybe some lightning in there by Saturday afternoon, with the ice really confined to the north of us for Saturday afternoon. Then that heads off towards the east, and then we have to get closer and talk about what's the potential for ice very late Saturday night, really into early Sunday morning is what we're looking at. So I have this paused at Sunday at 2 a.m. Ice off towards the west near Alexandria and to the north of us, but you'll notice there's a few scattered showers approaching our area. So it's going to be a question of how cold do we get, and are we going to see that threshold, that change over from rain to freezing rain in portions of South Louisiana. So I'll advance this further. Here we go, 4:30, so around 5 a.m. you'll notice the pink line kind of diagonal. So we're watching for areas of getting that freezing rain potential mainly to the north and west of us. If I advance this even more forward, you'll notice a lot of reds and oranges in here. That's heavy rain, also some stronger storms in the mix that we'll have to watch for. But you'll notice the graph pulls that ice potential a little bit further south, clipping areas like Point Capee Parish, northern Point Capee Parish, into the Felicianas and into southern Mississippi, Wilkinson County, maybe areas of Pike County, extended far eastward. But this is where we still have some uncertainty, because now we added a mix of storms, so that means higher rain rates. And the question is, do we get cold enough to see that transition from rain to accumulating ice and freezing rain? Well, I'll tell you what, I know Dr. Steve has been talking about this as well. When we get the storms and we have the higher rain rates, that actually can lead to less ice accumulating. Really, you need the lighter rain to get some accumulating ice. So we add that on top of that, it actually looks like a less potential of getting accumulating ice, really for the areas to the north and west where we have lighter rain going into early Sunday morning, where you see the heavier rain and storms by 8 a.m. on Sunday are moving across our area. And again, keeping that diagonal, the potential for ice to the north and west of us, very similar to the guidance that we were seeing yesterday evening specifically, going into the northwest, clipping portions, very northern portions of Point Capee Parish and into southern Mississippi as well. If we continue to advance this on Sunday, again, you see that threshold. So it's really going to depend on where is that freezing line, how far south does it get, and on top of that, even if it does travel further south, maybe a little bit closer to the interstates, we're dealing with some pretty heavy rain rates. That's going to lead to less ice accumulation, but we could see some ice getting up on some bridges, elevated roadways, typical spots that you could see some ice accumulation. But in terms of the most hazardous weather, it looks to stay off towards the north of us. Then when we get into Sunday afternoon, it moves pretty quickly off towards the east, which is good news, because by Sunday, then we're getting that Arctic air filtering in. So most of the moisture is going to be pushed off towards the east by the time we get that really, really cold air to sink in. So the Storm Prediction Center has actually highlighted portions of southeast Louisiana for a 1 out of 5 marginal risk for severe weather, with those storms ahead of the front. Now, southeast Louisiana, really areas I-12 and southward, is expected to mainly get that rain. So for them, they're going to be dealing with the potential for possibly some severe storms, maybe a tornado threat as well. We could see that potential by Sunday morning going into Monday morning. But for us, we're we're kind of on the mix. We could get some stronger storms, but also maybe the potential for some accumulating ice, mainly for areas northwest. So here's another model. I want to show you this in different ways so that you can see that there's agreement. Now there is a little bit of disagreement here and there, but for the most part, there's a lot of agreement between the models and different outcomes that we could see. This is the blended models. We've been showing you this all week. The National Blended Model is a blend of a bunch of different models, which gets a good estimate of what we could see. Now take the numbers with a grain of salt. Again, models don't really do a good job with estimating accretion, so the amount of ice, but this trend has backed up. Earlier this week, it was right along I-10, a little bit further south, but now the National Blended Models is showing freezing rain totals extending to the north and west. Right on track to what we've been saying, clipping portions of Point Capit Parish, Felicianas, and into Wilkinson County. That's where we expect the most potential for seeing accretion, seeing some of those freezing ice totals. Here's another way of showing that. Probability of at least a 100th of an inch of freezing rain through Saturday night through Sunday evening. So this is going to encompass the Saturday and into early Sunday, that portion where we could see the potential for some freezing rain. It has, to the areas to the north and west of us, has the higher odds, 40 to 60%, really clipping very northern portions of Point Capit Parish and into Wilkinson County. Once we get further south than that, we go down to 20 to 30% in terms of odds. Baton Rouge right on the line there, and then significantly decreases. I mean, we're talking less than 20% the further south we go. So 20 to 30%, our odds are in our favor for not getting 100th of an inch of freezing rain. Let's bump the totals up even more. Let's go to a 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain probabilities, and essentially agreement. The most hazardous, the heaviest accumulations that we're expecting to get is going to stay to the north and west of us, but the higher odds, again, still to the northwestern portions of our viewing area, 10 to 30% of a 1/10 of an inch of rain. Now this 1/10 of an inch of rain is a good amount. It definitely could cause some hazardous roadways, ice accumulating on those bridges and elevated roadways as well, but it's not going to be significant impacts that we're going to be expecting in those areas. Then the odds significantly drop off once again, less than 1/10 of an inch the closer you get to I-10 and near Baton Rouge. So the odds are still in our favor for not getting a whole lot of impacts here in the Baton Rouge metro and southward. For our friends closer to the northwest, there is a higher potential, but it's still not all that high. Here's what's making it a little bit tricky, is the temperatures. How far south is the freezing line going to get where we see that transition from rain over to freezing rain and accumulating ice, right? Well, here's the graph model and forecast temperatures. I have it starting around midnight, which is where that winter storm watch goes into effect, midnight on Sunday. Look at the temperature gradient already. We've got upper 30s in New Roads, low 40s in Baton Rouge, 50s in Homa, and 60s in Galliano along the coast. So quite the temperature gradient already. Let's advance this, but you'll notice we're still above freezing for our area. But if we advance this, you'll notice low 30s in Alexandria. In New Roads, we're getting close. 32 degrees is that freezing mark, but the graph actually keeps New Roads above freezing as we continue into early Sunday morning once again, 10 a.m. Now the graph does drop temperatures in the Baton Rouge area to the mid 30s, upper 30s closer to Hammond, Gonzales, and upper 40s down towards the south and east. So it's still going to be a question mark of how far we see the freezing line travel, but there's still a lot of agreement that it keeps it to the north and west of it. So it's going to be close for New Roads to really see how cold New Roads and Point Capit and places like Wilkinson County, how cold we actually get there. Do we see that transition over from rain to freezing rain? Then once we get into the afternoon, remember by the afternoon on Sunday when I showed you the graph and the precip type, all of that was really exiting well off towards the east. That's good news because the Arctic air really ushers in by Saturday afternoon and into the evening hours. Here we go. Oop, I had to pause at 7 a.m. But what this is showing is frigid temperatures. It's supposed to show 20 degrees by Monday morning. So we have some winter weather alerts to talk about. We have winter storm watch for our area. It looks like the National Weather Service just switched that over to a winter weather advisory for places along I-12 to the west of us. So Lafayette, Lake Charles now underneath that winter weather advisory. I'll get the latest update on that in just a second. But for us, we're still underneath a winter storm watch Sunday at midnight going into Sunday 6 p.m. so into the evening hours. So again, a watch is just the potential of seeing wintry weather. It's not a guarantee, it's just that there is the potential that we could see. For us would be freezing rain. But look at the extent of winter weather advisories across the country right now. I mean, we're going all the way to the desert southwest, all the way up into the northeast, and this the pink areas are actually winter storm warnings. So this is going to be a very impactful storm, really, for many places across the country, and it's going to cause probably some travel issues for the weekend and going into early next week. So why am I saying early next week? Well, because we're going to stay cold for many areas. We're going to most likely see wintry weather across much of the south central portions of the U.S., whether that's snow, sleet, ice. We're talking about frozen stuff on the ground. Then behind the Arctic front comes the really, really cold air. So for us, we're giving you that first alert once again because we're talking about hard freezes by Monday and Tuesday in the low 20s. Now, remember I was just talking about how we're supposed to get snow and ice on the ground to the north of us? Well, that could lead to even colder temperatures than what the models are hinting at right now, because when we get the winds blowing over the ice and snow, it could actually chill the air even further. So we could be even seeing some colder temperatures than that early next week. And it stays cold. I mean, we're talking about light freezes continuing into the latter part of the work week. By Thursday, we get some mid to upper 30s returning by the end of the work week and into the weekend, but we're already starting to see some signals of another round of colder temperatures arriving next week. So very, very, very frigid going into early next week. Those were just the actual temperatures. When we add in the wind, it's going to feel even colder than that. So here's the forecast wind chill from the graph Sunday afternoon. Already showing wind chill values into the 20s, upper 20s, mid 20s in Macomb in southern Mississippi. So if we advance this going into Sunday night, Sunday evening, wind chill values in the teens, low 20s for many of us in our viewing area, mid to upper 20s closer to the coast. Then we get into Monday morning, wind chill values in the single digits up in southern Mississippi, teens for central and southeastern Louisiana. So it's going to be frigid, frigid cold is what we're talking about for early next week. In fact, the National Weather Service has gone ahead and already put some cold weather alerts just off towards the west. So the blue here is an extreme cold watch that'll go into place Sunday evening. Remember, that's when we're going to get the Arctic air getting in by Sunday going into early Monday. So that's in place through Monday afternoon. Off towards the north of us, northwest of us, that extreme cold watch Sunday evening, and that's carried into Tuesday afternoon. So very, very cold weather on the way this weekend and extending into next week. All right, let's talk about what's happening right now. Live look outside in our Sky 9 camera. It's facing the Children's Hospital. Very cloudy, very gloomy. But today would be a good day to go ahead and wrap any exposed pipes that you may not have done so far this season, because you're going to need that going into early next week, because that is some pipe freezing cold is that we're talking about. All right, temperatures right now are mild. Upper 50s to low 60s, 60 degrees in Gonzales, 59 here in Baton Rouge, a little bit cooler up Macomb at 53. So today is going to be on the gloomier side, cloudy, but also mild. Temperatures climbing into the upper 60s. Then by the time we get into the evening hours, very, very slow to cool. I mean, we go from 67 to 62 and then really kind of bottoming out into the 50s overnight. So not going to be as cold tonight, but that's going to change as we get into the weekend. So we are giving you the first alert for the weekend for the potential for some ice, but again, not much of a threat here in the Baton Rouge metro and southward. Mainly, we're going to be watching for that ice accretion in our northwestern viewing areas. So northern Point Capee into Wilkinson County, those areas have the best chance of getting some sort of ice accretion. Then we turn much colder by Sunday afternoon and evening. I mean, we're bottoming out into the low 20s to start Monday. Feels like temperatures in the teens, possibly single digits into southern Mississippi and our northern portions of the viewing area. So we continue that first alert going into Monday and Tuesday. Those are going to be our coldest mornings going into the start of next week. Then we start to moderate a bit by Wednesday and Thursday, but still keeping those freezing temperatures in the morning hours. So remember that if you don't already have the First Alert Weather app, we will continue to send pushes, updates. It's like we're texting our friends about what the latest information is. Of course, we'll send that out throughout today if we get any updates. So if you don't have that, go ahead and download that, and we will keep you updated throughout the day today with any changes and into the weekend and early next week, and how you can keep you and your friends and family safe.
Southern Air of Baton Rouge says no, 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 no interest, no money down, no payments for 12 months on HVAC, plumbing, and electrical services. Scan the QR code on your screen to learn more.
I'm Lawyer Locke Meredith. If you're battling an insurance company because of a wreck not your fault and they're not calling you back or being fair, whether you hire us at all, give us a call, 272-5555, or email Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. You have nothing to lose.